Hi, welcome to this video. I just wanted to give an introduction to the online course that has been created by me. I am Jay Muller and I am the founder of Path A. And so this online course is called Awakening 101, a ninja's guide to navigating your spiritual awakening. And a lot of people know me as a DJ, singer, poet. These are the things that I do, that is how I occupy my time. And I make music. But I created Path A maybe in 2017, I think, is when it all began. And obviously it's changed throughout time, along with my own evolution. But this course and Path A in general, everything that is created here is just a reflection of my own spiritual awakening process. And so in the online course, it's just a breakdown of tools that I find handy and necessary throughout this process. Now, I started my awakening in 2014, and at the time I was 26. So I consider that to be quite young, actually. Everything shifted around me, and to be honest, it was a lot, and it was very confusing. And I was born up in the Western world, and at the time I was living in London, I didn't have much to lean on, didn't have many things that could help me on the path. And there are a lot of books that I read, I read so much. I just went down a path of changing the way that I lived, and I made a lot of drastic changes immediately. And obviously now I've gone to a stage where it just goes even deeper and you discover even more. And even the things and the books that I read in the past that really helped me along the way, now there's a moment of just letting go of all of that and going even deeper and discovering that there's so much more to it. And even sometimes what is available to us isn't even enough, even the tools that we have been given isn't enough for this awakening that we're all going through right now, which is wild, but it is the way that it is. And that is just because of what is happening on this planet right now, And yeah, it takes a level of integrity and dedication and seriousness. Obviously, I think it's very important to be playful with the journey and not take everything so seriously. But at the same time, there does need to be that level of work and dedication, as I mentioned, to unravel the truth, to unravel the illusion, to unravel what is actually taking place right now. And so Awakening 101, A Ninja's Guide to Navigating Your Spiritual Awakening, is my contribution to supporting this journey that we are all going through. And I know that so many more people are going to be embarking on this ride. And I knew that way back in 2014 when it all began for me. Something just clicked inside my head, and I just remember thinking, this is the future. This is what's happening. This is what's coming for all of us. So this is why I set up this project, Path A. This is why I started the New Monks podcast. This is why I started developing meditations online. And back then it was definitely in a different kind of flavor, let's say. And now I'm definitely refining it even more into becoming what it's meant to. And back then I just followed my intuition, and the logo and everything came to me one day in meditation, and I just started doing it. And it's been a while. I feel like in a way it seems like I should be more ahead than I am. But anyway, that wasn't the case. That's not my journey, that's not my path. It's all good. So But I know that, yeah, something deep down said to me, just do it. And in my head, it wasn't clear. It wasn't so specifically clear what it was that I was creating. All I knew is that I needed to create the space. And now, especially since 2020, everything shifted. Yeah, I had a lot of moments where I just really realized, wow, this is it. This is what I've been working towards. I honestly didn't know that the world was going to shift so drastically. I knew that more people were going to be waking up in a way. And in 2019, again, my intuition was really speaking to me very loudly, saying, next year is the year that there's going to be many awakenings. And I was like, okay, cool. So you need to keep creating, keep doing this project. And then when 2020 hit, March or whenever, February, I was like, damn, I didn't realize it was going to be so macro, so global, so the whole world is involved. It was crazy. And I'm sure we can all reflect back on where we were in 2020. It was wild. It was so wild. So wild. But yeah, so then what happened is at the end of 2020, so 2020 was a big unraveling of the veil, really seeing the illusion clearly. I think I heard that the halls of Amenti were opening, which is like this passageway underneath the earth in Egypt. And what that means is that a lot of information is coming to the surface, that now all the things that were hidden are rising, so that we can discover and realize what is really happening here and what has been happening on this planet. And obviously, in one sense of the way, we have the world, the physical reality, this world that we're born into. We go to school, we go to education, higher education or not. Then you do a diploma, whatever it is, or you just get yourself stuck in and you start working. And then you're working, and then you're working, and you're working, and you're working. And then you have a specific amount of holidays that you can take a year, and then you have to ask permission for your holidays. And then basically you live and you have a certain amount of off time in the evening. And then this is just the cycle that we just keep repeating. And then you get to an age where you retire. You stop working like a slave, working like a dog. And for many people, it might be difficult to understand that as slavery, because it's just what we have been conditioned to be the norm, that we should be working like that. But you know what? If you take the lid off of this world and this planet and really just free your imagination and allow yourself to envision a different kind of world, where the cities aren't made of so many buildings. Honestly, what's going on? It's mad. Imagine a playground, a paradise where nature was prominent and abundant and food was falling off the tree. It is the case, I know, in so many different places around the world. That is how people live. And so who's to say that, living in the city is the way that we should all be going? It's not really, is it? And as we can all see, it's not sustainable and not conducive to who we are as human beings. And we've just been conditioned into this thinking, into this way, flock to the cities. That's where everything happens. But actually, it's very unhealthy for us. It's also a toxic environment. There's no fresh air, there's no fresh water. The water is filled with absolute crap. The list is endless. But this is the awakening. So it's coming into this realization. And sometimes we can be on this, one of my friends likes to call it the travelator, the flat escalator thing that you see in airports. And you just hop on the travelator, and you're working and, you're doing that kind of lifestyle. And then sometimes, and this is kind of what happened to me, obviously I'm a musician and I am an artist, so I was never really on the travelator, in all honesty. But I just got knocked off completely. It was almost as if I was on the travelator, and I always used to explain it as if I was on the train, like the train was on the tracks, and something just went. Sorry, that must have been quite loud, and just went, and then I was just like, fudge, I'm on the floor. Where am I, and how do I get back up? And it was really this where am I, because it felt like a part of me went missing, completely knocked outside of my body. And it's not necessarily like the typical out-of-body experiences that you hear. I wouldn't necessarily say that, but I could definitely feel that something wasn't there anymore. And that's when everything shifted for me. And for me personally, it was a lonely road. I walked on my own, which a lot of the time is the way. And I also think that it's the way for the way showers, because we carve the path, we walk forwards, and we discover, we go deep, we travel into uncharted territories just so that we know what is there, so that we can really figure out, so that we can really see truth, so that we can really see the illusion, so that we can see it all, you know? And then the journey is to share that with other people. And if I am not sharing that with other people, then it's all for nothing, in my opinion. Obviously, other people's paths and journey are different, but I have a deep, deep, deep calling to share this, to share what I have learned, to share my journey, to share my path. And that's also because I have opened my throat chakra, I have opened my voice, I have stepped into my power. So much of me has been healed on this journey. And especially this past 2 years is when my throat and my voice has really come through in a big way. And so that is why I am here sharing. I'm not afraid. And this is my service, you know, this is what I want to share with the world, because I know that for me, at the start of my awakening, if I had some guidance, and I'm not talking about guidance of like spirituality, obviously I started meditating straight away, and I didn't stop. So I'm not talking about different specific parts. I went into Buddhism, I went to shamanism, you know, I've traveled down so many different routes. And so that's not really the kind of network and framework I'm talking about here, because those things are great. I picked up so many things along the way, and obviously this is my journey, and now I'm here to just share the outline with you, because this is the way that I see the journey unraveling. And this is the way that a lot of it went for me, 100%, you know. And so it's very interesting. I feel like there's a lot of things telling us what we should do, how we need to live our lives, you know. And a lot of the time I think that sometimes that can be quite a problem, because, you know, it's almost like, I mean, listen, obviously in a way we aren't living as nature intended, in all honesty, right? But at the same time, to constantly think and believe that we need to keep changing things and constantly, you know, looking for things outside of ourselves, that's kind of what I'm trying to say, because, you know, you can read all these books and as so many different paths and religions and ancient teachers say, is that everything is within. All the answers are here. All that you need to know is here. So, I mean, I know I read so many books and they were so helpful, but at the same time, it doesn't need to be one or the other. But if we don't have this journey of self, the journey that we dive into ourselves, then it's all for none. You know, what's the point? Because this is the path. We are the path, you know. So yeah, it's all very, very interesting. So back to the online course. This is why this was created. So the course is intended to be listened to. It's audio, so I wanted to make it super easy, not some long ass thing where you have to really take notes and really, you know, I guess I wanted to keep it simple. Obviously, take notes perfect, take notes, and journal, and really pay attention. It's important, but at the same time, just didn't want it to be too hard to grasp and too difficult for people to understand, especially in this journey, because a lot of it can be super daunting, confusing, all of the above. And I know for me as well, for a long time, it was just the vastness and expansiveness of the universe and us, and like me as an individual, was really daunting for a while. It really was just like, wow, this is huge, And so that really, luckily it's shifted now into more acceptance of that. But it really can be, because ultimately what it is we're waking up from this illusion of reality, of the conditioning, of the way that we're supposed to live our lives. You go to school, as I just mentioned, go to college, then you go to work, and this is the reality. You make money so that you can survive, and that's how you live. That's how we are designed here to survive, And so the awakening that is taking place right now is just the recognition that all of that is a false screen, basically. It's literally a false screen. And ultimately, we can live our life any way we wanted, but what's happening, and what a lot of people are realizing, especially since 2020, is that the people who have a lot of power have created it that way intentionally. And I think some people don't realize this, but it is intentionally. The intention was to keep us trapped in this system so that our energy can be harvested. And some people might think that's completely far out and might say, wow, that's wild. Like, no, that's not true. To me, the proof is in the pudding. Look at the way the world works, just see the way that it is right now. It doesn't make sense. If we were all highly enlightened beings, the world would not be this way. And obviously, that's a giver there. When, the people in power, they're not highly enlightened beings. Actually, they're operating from this unconscious shadow. And it really is unconscious, because it's the darkness, and the darkness has just stepped away from the light and forgotten that it is light. Ultimately, that's what I think it comes down to. So the recognition is that this is intentional. This slave system that we're in is completely intentional. And then coming into this as well, a lot of fear can come up. So much can come up when we realize what's really taking place, and that it's not even just human beings, like, the ones that we see that are in power, that are running a lot of things. It's not just them. It's actually that they're operating through other beings. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Other beings are operating through them. And so then it gets deep. We start to realize that there's more. A lot of people already tune into and already know that there is more. There's totally more. And a lot of information has been hidden from us. And it's all a lot to grasp, but this is it. This is so many different aspects to what is taking place right now. And the institutions and people who we have looked up to be solid and sound and in integrity, and giving us the information that we need and knowing what they know, well, a lot of the time they're hiding a lot from us, and they're not telling us everything. And then it turns out that it's a conspiracy theory, when actually the conspiracy theories are completely real. And obviously, that's not all of them. Let's just put that out there, because sometimes you can go down this avenue and path of just rolling out with these theories. And it's great to know what is going on. I think that is really, really important, to be honest. But at the same time, yeah, we don't need to find ourselves in this spiral, because ultimately the really important part is to be grounded, to be stable, to not be woo, 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 woo. And sometimes that's what happens when you go down all these theories. Also, it's not quite the point. You know, once you know what's going on and what's taking place, then you know. And then the next step is, what are you going to do about that? You know, if there's no point keeping going down and discovering. The information, I find, just comes to you as it needs to. It will just come to you. And all the information is already within. This whole menti, the information that is arising, it's a library, but the library is not a physical place. The library is here, it's in our DNA. We have it. It's implanted. It's actually the most intelligent design. You know? But ultimately, what's happened in the world is that we go to all these books to seek self-help when the answers are already here, and they always have been here. And the way that this illusion and smokescreen has been portrayed to us is that we need to look outside of ourselves, and we need the government to tell us what to do, and we need our boss to tell us what to do, and we need these certain institutions, societies, to help us run society and our lives. And what's happening now is that a lot of people are waking up and realizing that actually those things aren't doing that. That's not their purpose, and that never was their purpose. And their purpose is actually to keep us in place, to keep us not questioning things, you know, to keep us repeating the cycle and just working and working and working until one day we have to retire. I don't live my life like that, so I can say now, from the way that I live my life, it's a crazy idea. It's an absolutely insane idea that we have to work Monday to Friday, have 2 days off. Some people only have 1 day off, right? It's insane. It is insane. And it's that famous Krishnamurti quote where he says, "It is no measure of health to be adjusted to a profoundly sick society." And that is exactly it. And a lot of us are waking up now and realizing that this is a profoundly sick society. So whatever the mainstream is doing and the majority of people are doing is not the way forwards. And that's just a general rule of thumb. Not always the case, but the majority of the time, following the status quo is not the way. And a lot of us, ever since we were young, had this rebellious nature inside us because we knew. Children know. Children, when we come into this world with innocence, we know, and then the world conditions us. But there were some of us that never got conditioned in a specific way, and we were rebellious by nature since, day dot. And now what is happening is that we are realizing that actually that rebelliousness was important. It was needed for our training, because now we need to rebel. And I don't mean protest, I don't mean go in the streets, and I don't mean fight. I just mean internally, The time is now to rebel against all of this profoundly sick society and parasitic entities and people that are running the show. And there's deep conditioning there, because there's this whole program that says, no, to follow the law and to follow the rules is right. But that is not the case. That is totally not the point. And this is where our inner compass and intuition becomes super important, because if somebody is telling you the most basic example, to jump off a cliff because it's going to save your life, are you going to do it? And if they make that the law, then are you still going to do it? This is how deep our conditioning is, because some people have and will. They will walk straight off into the cliff. But there's so many levels to be understood here, because what happens is we need to see that this is the grand plan. This is the grand awakening of humanity. And a lot of time what's happened is that people have already made their soul contracts, and they have already made their decision, and their higher self already knows what is for them. And I kept hearing that a lot of people aren't going to make it through. You know, suicide is increased, obviously, all the sudden death and all of that has also increased. And, you know, it's happening. This is what's happening. But at the same time, this is the cleansing, it's the purging. So, you know, it's not to say anything from an ego perspective. It's to see the bigger picture from a deeper perspective of source, and to know that what is happening needs to happen this way, and this is the way, so that we can reset, and so that we can create a different world and a different reality. And as a lot of us know already, this is our role, this is what we're here for, this is why we came here, and this is our contract, you know. And a lot of those other people who had contracts where they don't survive through this, you know, they're also playing a big role, because their death is going to ripple and wake up other people to realize what is truly going on. You know, people who are dying by sudden death, even people who are dying by suicide as well. You know, this is all part of the awakening. So the awakening is the grand movement that is taking place right now. It really, really is. And sometimes you might not see it, even in your day-to-day, you might not necessarily know what is going on, but this is it. And a lot of things are going to change in our world. And since 2020, we've been living in a completely different reality. We really have. Everything has shifted. And the new normal. New normal. And so, in order to make it through, we have to be really freaking powerful, really strong, spiritual warriors. That's what's up. That is what's up. And the deeper you dive into yourself, the more you will realize, the more you will know, the more you will remember. And this is another part of this path, is one of remembrance. Because as with everything else in this conditioning, we've been told that this is who we are. But it's not who we are. We've been sold one piece of the puzzle, and actually we are the whole puzzle. Okay, it's literally like that. So the remembrance is, yeah, it's all for those of us who are ready to seek. And it can be difficult, it can be tough, it can be lonely. I've been through all of this already, and I mean, listen, I've come to a really stable place right now, and this is why it's taken me so long to come forwards and to talk and to share, which is very interesting, because it has. I only really started speaking out in 2019, maybe. Or, yeah, and in 2020, and in the past few years, like, really. So now I've been walking this path for 8 years, and the experience is the most important aspect of this journey, because we learn through our experience. Everything that I do, the music, the poetry, everything Pathé related, it is all connected to my experience as Jay Muller. It's all connected to what I have learned through the relationships that I have been through. Everything is in that way. When I learn through experiential knowledge, then it is grounded in my body, and you can't take it away from me. It's not something that I've just read in a book and I've just said, oh yeah, that makes sense. No. And this is the whole point, because we're moving into a new vibration, a new world. And that new world is not of mind, because we are not our minds. We have bodies on bodies on bodies. We have higher selves on selves on selves. We are multi-dimensional beings. So the whole purpose of where we are going is all about embodiment. And this speaks thousands. It speaks infinitely. It speaks without speaking. You know, just by feeling someone's presence and their depth of presence, we can know who they are and where they are, you know? So anything that is of the surface level is crumbling right now, and where we are going requires us to really go freaking deep and to embody the frequency, and that is the frequency of love, the frequency of forgiveness, of compassion, self-love, the frequency of literally understanding the bigger picture, the wider picture. So it's away from separation, it's towards unity, it's away from hate, it's away from the binary, it's away from all of these illusions and stories, you know, it's away from all of that. And the only way we can do that, this is the new world, you know, it requires us to walk through into the path. It requires us to do the work, basically. And there is no way around that. There is no beating around the bush. So, yeah, some people aren't going to make it through. And that's just something that we all have to come to terms with and understand. And still, like I said, at a higher level and a wider perspective, we can see that they're all playing roles here right now. We're all playing our own roles, and that's fine. And eventually, point of this is that we are all going to end up in the same place. Obviously, there's intricacies within that I'm not going to go into detail here, but yeah, the whole point is that we all are walking towards a completely new paradigm, to a new age, you know, all these ancient traditions and tribes, and, you know, talking about the golden age, the age of Aquarius, and, you know, you can use whatever terms you want to use. This is the thing, right? But at the same time, it's not necessarily any one of them, but it's just a knowing that we all have, that we know. And we are coming online now to our missions as well, to realizing what's going on. And I'm coming online to my mission. I'm realizing that I am someone who is paving the way here for a lot of people. And I'm not meaning that in an egotistical way at all, because that's not what this is about. But, you know, it's about all of us. It's about us coming together. It's about us recognizing and remembering and realizing and helping each other. And that's why I started the New Monks podcast, because a lot of the time I see all these, you know, this hierarchy thing going on, and I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me, you know. And especially because there's so much distortion in so many teachings and in everywhere, in the mainstream, the distortions are everywhere. So for me, I feel like when we share our stories and we share our journey and our path, we can learn so much from each other. And I highly recommend checking out the podcast series, because there's so much wisdom that has been shared through each person, and we can just get closer and closer and closer to truth when we really just, you know, let go of our ego and just share from a place of authenticity, you know. So yeah, that's the podcast. Definitely check it out. And so I'm just I'm talking about this. But just, this was an introduction to the online course, which is what I kind of wanted to share. So basically, the journey can be really tumultuous. It can be earth-shattering, ground-breaking, paradigm-shifting, disillusionment. What's happening right now, or the place we are now, 2022, is the grand disillusionment of everything that we once taught. I wrote this poem, actually, I feel like I really want to read it now, but might remember it. I wrote this poem in 2015, and this poem is exactly what is happening right now, but it was happening for me back in 2014, and for me, I was just like, whoa. So this is it. It is the disillusionment. Now, let me try and recite it now, because I've performed this one a few times, so hopefully I can remember. So how does it go? but I can't remember the first line. You know when you just can't remember the first line, but the end is coming and it's strange. Okay, let me take a moment. Just couldn't remember it. I had to check. But anyway, let's see if I can remember it now. So, just when you thought that you knew who you were, just when you believed what you believed, something within you changed. That feeling that you had before, gone. And it will never go back to the way that it once was, back to the way that you once were. This is it. It's what they call awakening. Now, you can believe that or not, but all you can know for sure is that everything that you once believed to be for sure before is 100% an illusion. Now you can either try and fight it and stay comfortable within your ignorance, or you can let it go and flow and let go of every single thing that you believe. The choice is yours. Yeah, that poem, I've performed that quite a few times. I did it for my single release show twice, and I just think that is it. That's everything. This is it. The conditioning is real. It's deep. The programming runs deep. If we want to truly let go and find out what's going on, we need to let go of it all. And that's why I released a song called I Surrender I, because that was all about my process and just letting go and letting God. And it's a huge part of it. And so the Awakening 101 online course, A Ninja's Guide to Navigating Your Spiritual Awakening, because what I detail in the different subjects here and the different titles is precisely what we should be aware of when we are traveling this path, and what is going to equip us and help us on this journey into our deepest awakening. So the first section is solitude and self-awareness. So these are just the tools that we can use, that are really going to help us. And yeah, it's intended to be listened to in consecutive order because there is a process through it. And I'm still releasing the sessions, so it's not finished yet. I think I am now currently on number 6. So session 1 is solitude and self-awareness. Session 2 is surrender and acceptance. And it's just me speaking on these things and why they are so important and how to integrate them into your lives. And then non-attachment, trauma and healing it, and self-love, sovereignty. And so all of these aspects are so important. And it's just a map, it's a framework, and it is a guide that I have designed literally in this order specifically, so that you can totally equip yourself so that you have a super strong foundation and that you know where you are going and that we are going to this destination and to this place of sovereignty and freedom and authority, accountability, responsibility, self-love, neutrality, all of these things. This is the way. This is the path. This is the new earth. This is the new world that we're creating. And it is a brave new kind of world. And it is going to require us to really step into our warriorship and stand up as warriors and keepers of the earth. Because that's who we are. That is us. We are here. We belong here, So all these ways of living and existing, of backwards ways, they are out the door now. We are coming forwards because we know that what has been going on is wrong. It is wrong. The law that they designed is a trap. It's a con. We are stepping outside of the paradigms that kept us restricted, and we are creating a new world. And it starts with each and every single one of us taking individual self-responsibility now, moving forwards and doing the work. And that is what is required. That is the basic, fundamental that is going to be needed in order for us to move forwards. And there is no escaping it. And there is no alternative route. You know? The path towards the temple is within, and we must walk it alone. And obviously we can share the path with each other, we can do this together, we can come to unity, we can come to understanding, but we must walk it alone. You know, when you're sitting there in meditation, all that there is you. It's you and your connection to source. Obviously, we're never alone. That a lot of people know, we're never alone, and that's one of the most important things now, is grounding in this connection to source. And for me, when 2014 hit me, it just went, and I've been feeling this powerful connection since then. And it was always something that I hid from people because I just thought that they wouldn't understand. And it's really out of this world. It's magical. It's different. So I kept it a secret. Anyway, I'm coming through now. I'm coming forwards. I'm sharing this. I'm sharing what I know to be as truth. You know, and I know a lot of other people know this to be truth as well, because it doesn't make sense. The way we've been living, it doesn't make sense. You know, there's a lot of confusion because it doesn't make sense. Make it make sense. Oh wait, no, it doesn't make sense. Jokes. But yeah, so this is it. We can equip ourselves. So the years to come, so much is going to change. And if we are to survive, we are to step into our power. This is the path. And this is why I have offered this online course, to really help with this grounding. So it's the work that we can do that can really help us. And sometimes it might seem that it's not related. And because we're constantly looking outside and this is changing in the world and this is happening, and then we get knocked off our grounding and off our stability. And then we're looking for answers somewhere over there, when actually come back here, come back home, find the home in yourself. And yeah, just find that home in yourself so that you, no matter what happens, you're good. No matter what happens, you know, and it is self-realization, because we come to know who we are. We are not our ego, and we are not this mind that runs around, running around, you know? We are so much more than that. When we connect to source, we feel that. And this feeling is the way forward. It's the remembrance. It's so important. This vibration, this frequency, this is the future. This is where we're headed. We're moving outside of intelligence and indoctrination, and we're moving towards intuition and inner standing. And obviously activating all of our divine powers that we have all a birthright, you know, that are our birthright. So, Awakening 101, An Angel's Guide to Navigating Your Spiritual Awakening. This course, it can be found on the website www.parthe.one, parthe.one. And I honestly would like to offer it to everyone on a donation basis. So at the moment, the first session you can download for free, and the other sessions, I have put a minimum donation there of £24. However, if this is a problem, then just email us and we can send you the audio. And I'm just here speaking because I'm setting the intention and this offering because I would like to help as many people as I can on this process, because it's dear to me, it's dear to my heart. I know what it's like. I've been through the turmoil of the loneliness and the confusion that lasted for years. The confusion lasted for years. And recently I've come into huge alignment and clarity. Obviously my path is still continuing and I'm still going, and there's so much more to be integrated for me and learned and discovered. But things are a lot clearer now. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. Things are clearer, and the destination and the path is clearer. Obviously there is no destination, the only destination is here now. Enjoy the journey. But you know what I mean. So yeah, check out The On A Cross. There's more information online if you would like to check it. And yeah, all the best for you in your process, in your journey. May you continue to walk this path in integrity, in humbleness, in surrender, because that's going to really help you. And may we all recognize and remember who we are. Know that we are here for something so much bigger than each single one of us. And step into our roles and our power divinely and fulfill what we came here to do throughout this time of the Great Awakening and this disillusionment and the lifting of the veil of reality. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Jamuna. Check out the website and Path A, the New Monks, Conscious Dance. There's even online conscious dance sessions if you would like to join. Healing is so important. We are here to walk this path on our own. We are here to do this work. So more power to you if you are doing it, if you are diving deep, and keep going. Things will become clearer and they will all start to make sense. Thank you so much for listening.